What brings me here today is this one question. Who are we? Well, we know we've come a long way through this thing called evolution that's responsible for us being able to ask this question. See, as far as we know, we are the only living thing that is capable of reaching an aspect of experience, of consciousness, of thought that can question what it is we are. Who are we? On top of asking this question, we are also the only creature that thinks we have the answer. See, every culture has a different answer. But what is a culture? A culture it's a shaky term. It's the structure through which you've learned to look at yourself, the world around you, and other people. Now, culture, according to anthropology, has two aspects. There's the intangible and the tangible. The intangible is the mode of the mind, and the tangible is what the mind has created, the world around you, this room, this screen, this projector. Now, today, our culture is at an all-time high. It's extreme, and it's just been climbing higher and higher for the past 100 years at a pace faster than ever before. By the looks of it, it seems we're finally here. This is what all of our ancestors have strived for. This is where the process of culture evolution has taken us, to be in a world where we have the world in our pockets, basically. We can connect with each other to the other side of the globe. We have experienced realms of technology that people from our history wouldn't have even been able to conceive of. But how do we get here? So, we had a question, we created something new, like music. Now, music is something that comes straight from inside us. Back when we had nothing, 40 to 70,000 years ago, when we first developed intention and symbolic thinking, we were left alone with nature to create symbols out of our relationship with it. So we messed around. Suddenly, the sounds within nature started to reach our brain to stimulate us in new ways. And we found that through moving our bodies, through hitting things, through moving our voice, we could create a thing called music. Music makes the intangible within us tangible. We create something new from a place that only we can explore as individuals. And the collective embraces it. This is what I've devised to explain this process. It's called IT. There's the intangible individual where it all starts, the tangible transfer, and everybody embraces it to create a culture. Music does this. Music is the bridge between the individual and the collective. Because in our quest to understand who it is that we are, the musician answered that question for us because he reached into himself, devised a tangible transfer of who it is he was that resonated with who it is we were. Music is the common bridge between the individual and the collective, and it has established our first cultures. Now, this is Western culture. It's a box. During the process of IT, the intangible, the tangible, and the everybody embraces, we got stuck on the tangible. We said, who are we? We found answers, and we said, the end. We have our answers. Now, this box is an interesting box because what happens when this box sees other cultures? Well, whatever the box wants to happen happens because the box is a figment of the imagination. So a box can decide it's bigger than others, that it being different makes it better. And a box can repel what's outside, which is what happened when we enslaved African Americans. Now, when African Americans were enslaved, we stripped them of any tangible culture they had, and they were left alone with nothing but music to keep them going. They would sing songs to build a sense of hope and community, and that's what kept them going. And that was enough, because it took us a long way. Here we see on the right, African Americans, when they were sent to fight in the Civil War, they heard European military music. And they took this music within their imaginations, a place undefined by a box, created something new called jazz. Now, Terence McKenna said, "It is the artist's task to save the soul of mankind. If the artist cannot find the way, then the way cannot be found." This quote speaks volumes because throughout our history of being in boxes, of creating boxes for ourselves, the artist has been responsible for taking us out of those boxes to push us through. We did not stop at the boxes. We made a mistake when we thought the boxes were the answers, and history has shown us time and time again that there was always room for growth. The only person that could remind us that there was room for growth within us was the artist, because each music is something new, something fresh from within the individual that tapped into a part of us that was new and fresh and undefined by a box and showed us that there was more. So when jazz came about, we said, wow, there's more. And the youth moved along into a new box, a more integrated box. See, finally, artists like Louis Armstrong came about and shed a new light on African Americans in our pop culture. Music humanized them. It resonated with a human part within ourselves that showed us that maybe these boxes aren't real. Maybe there's more. Maybe we can collaborate, we can innovate, and we can reach new heights through this platform. So in the 20s, this set a new trend. It's called change. It's called evolution. And in the 20s, the roaring 20s, the younger generation embodied a new pattern that brings us here today, which is breaking off from the old box through music, loosening up a bit, dancing more. Not being so rigid, loosening up a bit. And that is what brings us to the 60s. The 60s, we decided that the box is not for us. We want to break out. Love is the answer. We don't need any barriers separating us. We need to explore ourselves. We need freedom. And this was a very, very powerful, monumental point in our history. And we were all united. The one force was music. See, Woodstock was a concert. It was an event I'm sure you've all heard of. 100,000 people gathered together under peace, love, and rock and roll. This event did a lot for our society. It helped the youth become unified under a common bond of music that led a culture that spiraled into the civil rights movement. Now, the youth was the ones who were in power. The old people, they didn't know. They didn't know there was a better way to live, a way where we could all accept ourselves, we could all explore ourselves. And so the old people had to go with the box they'd created. And the music was basically what liberated us. Now, things got a little out of control. We didn't really have a strong grip on a sense of stability in this time. It was all so new and fresh, this whole every man for himself and love thing. So, what happened is the 80s came along, and money became the answer, basically. We became very focused on the tangible because there was a lot to explore. Technology started picking up the pace. And with the tangible around us, suddenly the artist, the human who connected us with the humanists within themselves, became a little more tangible. He became a figure on a magazine. Someone else, someone higher up, someone with money. And this is where we're at today. Now, this ain't aight, because at the top we seek the tangible, and the tangible is what defines the artist now. The artist is inside the box, and we're stuck in the middle. What do I mean by all this? Well, this is it. We're here, guys, right? This is the answer. All in history, we didn't know anything. Finally, we know everything, and that's the problem. A lot of people believe that, especially you guys, the youth, because our artists have failed us. They're not outside of the box. They're not telling us there's more to who we are. they're describing themselves by the tangible. It's a trend that I've noticed recently in our pop culture, that artists are identifying themselves with the superficial. This is the consumer culture we are a part of right now, where we define ourselves by what we buy, we define ourselves by what we see, by Nicki Minaj's butt, by, and that totally defies the responsibility of the artist, and it's totally holding us back, and we're headed for catastrophe if we don't take a second to appreciate the tangible that we have, the TED Talks we have, the computers, the internet we have, and to observe the path the history has paved the way for, and see how it all happened, and see what we need to do today, because we are not done. The test has just begun to see whether we can keep pushing. Now the question is, where do we push to? Everything we have, we already got. We have all the science, we have all the technology. Well, we can look. We came from the I, the individual, the imagination, and we created boxes. And every time we created a box, we realized that we created a box that was unsustainable. And music was the force that kept us evolving, because the artist was the one that could break out of the box and remind us, hey, this box doesn't exist. We can go beyond it. That's the 60s. That's where we're at today. The switch will be made by exploring the unknown. How can we explore the unknown? We've already got the whole world in our pockets. Well, what is the one place that has always brought us forward? The imagination, the artist's territory, the place where he could birth something new to remind us of the fresh, the undefinable within ourselves. So how will this happen? Well, by the looks of it, the artist isn't going to make it happen, which is kind of good news, because this is where we can stop the pattern of the artist being responsible for us getting outside of the box, and we can empower ourselves, because that's where the future lies, in a conscious consumerism. So we have to remember where this all came from our imagination, from the individual's imagination. See, the cool thing about your imagination is no one else has it and no one else can explore it. That's where everything came out of, individuals exploring their imagination, and all the mess, we got messed up when we thought that that was it, that we could define others by our imaginations. And that's where the problem lies. That's why the change was so painful in the past. And that's why the future will only come about by us creating the new. The artist reminded us that we're individuals and that we're all together through connecting us through music. So basically what needs to happen is you can't let culture define you. You can't stop right now. You have to keep growing. When you dance, your purpose is not to get to a certain place on the dance floor. It's to enjoy each step along the way. So if the unexplored territory is ourselves, then we have to empower ourselves through asking ourselves questions. We were ignorant to evolution. We see the pattern now, and we have to change it to impossible to unbox. Now, the reason I say that we need to find ourselves is because we are very advanced, but I see a lot of kids are still struggling with anxiety, insecurity, depression. We still have sexism. We still have inequality. Things are still not where they're supposed to be, and it's our job as the youth to carry us into a new age where we can finally get it all right. This is the first time we can look at the past to see the patterns of what went right and what went wrong, and to make the future something better. How we'll do that is through breaking out of a box. So, who are we? That's for you to find out, you know? How you're going to do that is you're going to close your eyes for a day, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, see what lies beyond all the cultural messages you get every day. Think, ask questions. What am I consuming? Why am I consuming it? And immerse yourself in other cultures. Step outside of your box. There's more to life. We're at the first time when we have access to all that. And last but not least, don't be afraid to dance. Each one of us has our own dance, and the world will be a much better place. I think the world can turn into paradise when each person is dancing his own dance, not caring about anyone else, not caring about how he looks, not caring about conforming, because beautiful things happen when everyone's in the same place dancing. If you've ever been to a concert, you can kind of understand that sense of community. It's what's driven us through our religious practices in the past. So dance, find your own dance, and don't be scared. Don't let anyone else define it for you. That's my speech.